Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a like up. Gunther and CM Punk's World Heavyweight title main event bout at tonight's WWE live event ended in controversy. The finish saw Dominic Mysterio coming out and helping the ring general escape the cage to retain the gold. Punk took on Gunther in a World Heavyweight title match inside a steel cage at tonight's WWE live event in Chicago. In the end, Dominic Mysterio came out and helped Gunther defeat the former WWE champion. Dominic helped Gunther by slamming the cage door on CM Punk. He then let the ring general escape the structure with ease. Punk is now all set for another massive bout in a matter of days. On the Raw premiere on Netflix on January 6, 2025, Punk will take on Seth Rollins in what will seemingly be the main event. Punk and Rollins have taken shots at each other on multiple occasions over the years, and they will finally collide on the historic show on January 6. As for Gunther, the ring general had another successful title defense tonight. It remains to be seen who's going to challenge Gunther next now that he's picked up a huge win over one of the greatest of all time. The arena was electric, the air thick with anticipation. The steel cage loomed ominously over the ring, casting long shadows across the squared circle. Tonight was a night fans would remember for years to come. Gunther, the ring general, and CM Punk, the voice of the voiceless, were set to settle their bitter rivalry in one of wrestling's most brutal structures. The rivalry reaches its peak. Weeks of animosity had led to this moment. Gunther, with his dominant reign as a fierce powerhouse, had repeatedly taunted Punk, questioning his resolve and resilience. Punk, never one to back down from a challenge, had retorted with sharp words and biting promos, promising to topple the seemingly indomitable Austrian giant. Their clashes outside the ring had been brutal, with neither man able to claim decisive superiority. Tonight, however, there would be no running, no interference, and no excuses. At least, that was the promise. The battle begins. The match started with a deafening roar from the crowd. Gunther's imposing frame made Punk look almost undersized, but the veteran's confidence was unwavering. As the cage door was locked and the bell rang, the two gladiators circled each other. Gunther struck first, delivering a thunderous chop that echoed through the arena and sent Punk reeling into the corner. Punk grimaced but refused to show weakness, firing back with a flurry of kicks and elbows. The first few minutes were a showcase of contrasting styles. Gunther used his strength and technical prowess to dominate the mat, grounding Punk and delivering punishing holds and strikes. Punk, on the other hand, relied on his quickness, creativity, and sheer audacity, using the cage itself as a weapon. At one point, he scaled the structure to deliver a flying clothesline, catching Gunther off guard and igniting the crowd. Momentum shifted back and forth until a brutal moment left the audience gasping. Gunther, with his unmatched strength, hurled Punk into the steel cage like a rag doll. The impact was sickening, and Punk's face was soon a crimson mask as blood poured from a gash on his forehead. Gunther smirked, sensing victory, and began to methodically dismantle his opponent with devastating precision. Punk, however, was not called the voice of the voiceless for nothing. He rallied, digging deep into his reserves of resilience. Blocking another attempt to grind his face into the cage, Punk countered with a low blow. A desperate but effective maneuver. As Gunther staggered, Punk hit a picture-perfect springboard elbow, leveling the playing field. Just as Punk began to build momentum, the match took a chaotic turn. The arena lights flickered, and a wave of confusion swept through the crowd. Suddenly, Imperium, Gunther's loyal faction, appeared at ringside. Ludwig Kaiser and Giovanni Vinci began scaling the cage, their interference breaking the promise of a clean match. Punk fought valiantly, managing to fend off Vinci with a well-timed chair shot retrieved from under the ring, smuggled in by a resourceful ringside official. However, Kaiser managed to make it inside the cage, attacking Punk with a relentless barrage of strikes. Gunther capitalized, delivering a punishing powerbomb that left Punk writhing on the mat. The crowd erupted in boos, their hopes of a fair contest dashed. Just as it seemed all hope was lost for Punk, the lights flickered again. This time, the sound of a familiar theme music sent the arena into a frenzy. Out of nowhere, Samoa Joe stormed down the ramp, his intense gaze fixed on Imperium. Joe, who had his own score to settle with Gunther and his faction, laid waste to Vinci with a brutal clothesline and locked Kaiser in the Coquina clutch. With Imperium neutralized, Joe turned his attention to the cage, slamming the door shut to prevent any further interference. The crowd roared in approval as Joe stood guard, ensuring the match continued without further shenanigans. Inside the cage, Punk and Gunther were both battered and exhausted. Gunther, despite his earlier dominance, showed signs of wear as Punk unleashed a desperate offensive. With adrenaline coursing through his veins, Punk managed to hoist Gunther onto his shoulders and deliver the GTS, a feat that seemed impossible just moments earlier. The impact left Gunther dazed, collapsing to the mat. Instead of going for the pin, Punk made his way toward the cage door, looking to escape and claim victory. But Gunther wasn't finished yet. Summoning his last reserves of strength, he lunged at Punk, grabbing his ankle and pulling him back into the ring. What followed was a brutal exchange of strikes and counters, each man refusing to give an inch. As the match reached its climax, Punk saw an opportunity. Using the ropes for momentum, he launched himself at Gunther, delivering a thunderous running knee that sent the big man crashing into the cage wall. The impact was so forceful that the cage panel gave way, and Gunther tumbled to the outside. For a moment, it appeared Gunther had won by escaping the cage. However, the referee ruled that only an intentional escape counted, keeping the match alive. Seizing the moment, Punk climbed through the broken panel, his bloodied face a mask of determination. Just as Gunther tried to rise, Punk kicked the cage door shut, stunning the ring general long enough to step both feet onto the floor. The bell rang, and the crowd erupted in deafening cheers as Punk was declared the winner. Exhausted but victorious, Punk raised his arms in triumph, his face a mixture of relief and defiance. Samoa Joe joined him at ringside, nodding in approval before walking off without saying a word, leaving Punk to bask in the adulation of the fans. Gunther, seething with rage, glared at Punk from the outside. Though he had lost the match, the intensity of his gaze made it clear that their rivalry was far from over. As the show went off the air, one thing was certain: this brutal, chaotic, and unforgettable steel cage match would go down as a defining moment in the storied careers of both Gunther and CM Punk.